I'm Susan Butts, and this is Examining Comb, part of my Zen Beekeeping series. It's always a question about how your hive is. New beekeepers many years, everyone's concerned of their hives, whether it's through winter or spring or summer. We're watching our hives and we're hoping for the best.
Beekeeping.
It's not a passive hobby to just watch. We are a proactive part in our beekeeping, unless, of course, you're just into natural beekeeping, log beekeeping, where you're just want to see nature take its course. If you have some type of hive where you're expecting to take honey, you need to examine your comb. We're no longer in the days of our grandfathers where there's no pests, there's no varroa, there's no hive beetle. Things not quite 100 years ago were much simpler, and we're not there anymore. And so we have to be proactive in learning what is going on in our hives and what is happening so that we can better care for our investment into the bees and have them thrive rather than just peter out at the end of a year. So this is my course, Examining Comb, and I want to welcome you for furthering your knowledge. You have to continuously learn knowledge in beekeeping. Beekeeping is always learning new things about the bees. Our environments are continuously changing, and so this is a really important part of either your new hobby or your journey into a business of beekeeping. You're not in the days of your grandfather. We have to take care of things. So that's what this class is about, is taking a proactive role in your hive maintenance. And so welcome to your class. This is just a part of your agenda as to what we're going to do. And in the first part of this little bit, we're going to meet your teacher, me. We're going to discuss the comb function. We're going to identify the components of the comb, discuss a little bit of proper management, and also why would we examine the comb. We'll follow this agenda, and as I go through, I'm going to try to discuss a little bit about each topic in depth. There will be pictures and video, and I suggest taking notes. And with anything in beekeeping, if this ages, either I'll update it or you have to make sure you update your knowledge as well. And also in your particular area. Environments change from, I'm in the United States, so it's state to state, region to region, province to province, things like that. So we're going to examine why should we examine the comb, and then we'll talk a little bit about queens and population. So a little bit about our class objectives, rules. Rules in beekeeping are not really steadfast. I always say it should be taken with a grain of salt. Again, your environment, your type of hive, all these things will come into account. Let's just look at something here as far as your objectives and expectations, because each apiary is different. Only you will know your hive, and as your knowledge grows, your apiary should grow. So you'll understand what to look for, how it functions, why we're looking at the comb, and that way you can assess the health of your hive and what are the needs of your hives. So rather than losing your hives, you'll double your hives if that is what you would like, or at least allow it to thrive and continue from year to year. Knowledge is power. Let me introduce myself. My name is Susan Butts, and I've been beekeeping for approximately 17 years. And I run an apiary of about 150 hives. And each summer that number grows, and each winter it goes down. It grows because I raise queens. I deliver nukes, and I try to maintain a stock of queens so that not only can I sell them, but so that I can replace queens as they come through. I make honey. I do propolis trapping, pollen trapping, and render wax for candles. I have a small Etsy shop. I have a shop online, honey stand. These are things that as a beekeeper you grow. You can either choose to give your rewards away or you can sell them. Fun, rewarding hobby, and it can be a nice income. But you have to get bigger. So let's move on. The comb. The combs are the structural unit of the hive. Your comb is where reproduction takes place, storage takes place. Reproduction being that the combs are where all the eggs, larvae, and brood are raised. And depending on the size of that comb, whether it's a worker cell or a drone cell, that's when you're going to get those types of bees. Storage. What kind of storage? Well, you have nectar that is placed in each cell. Pollen is stored in cells next to the brood and around in a circular pattern generally, but you will see frames of brood at times of plenty. And you need to make sure that that storage area is plentiful when these resources are plentiful so that the hive can grow and rear brood and bring in the extra resources so that you can get your honey. It's very important to keep these combs in place when and where they need it. What else do the combs hold? Well, they are the winter cluster. This is where the whole of the hive for winter will gather, hold heat, and keep that queen warm so that you have a spring hive and you're not looking for a new hive in the spring. This is how they hang together. This is where they will. It's a physical space for them to gather on. They also use the comb as part of their communication. It is their dance floor. It is their area to also, the actual wax itself can carry vibrations from one comb to the next. That's part of what your brace comb is. So the structural unit of the hive is your comb. So let's take a look at some of these examples. And you can slow this part down, take a look at it. We have brood up top. There must be room for the queen to lay and for those eggs to be workers. Otherwise your population will stop or she'll swarm. The eggs are the ability to grow, and it's a direct correlation to your honey production. Your honey production will not be big if you don't have a big population. It is the population that will continue to grow your honey. And then your stores. The picture all the way to the right is stores of not only nectar, but as you can see, it's pollen. And the stores, whether in summer or winter, are what's going to keep your hive alive. And there can be low stores in summer and low stores in winter. So it's not just a winter concern. You have to have all sections of comb ready to allow your hive to expand. And that expanding population is what's going to get you honey production or a healthy hive. Once she becomes small or confined, then you start to have problems. So you want to have enough comb ready. And this doesn't mean you have to put drawn out comb. I'm just saying that the frames and things will get there. You're going to have areas for the queen and workers to put their stores for the queen to lay eggs and for the rest of the hive to rear the brood for the rest of the season. So when you understand that comb is a huge part of the hive, this is going to help you understand what your real investment is. You have these questions: why did my hive die? Why is my hive so small? But if you don't go into your hives and you think that you can sit that hive out in your backyard and go into it once every couple of months, this is the fallacy that some people have in their head, that it's easy to take care of a hive without understanding the function of the entire superorganism. These are things that, if you understand the comb, if you understand the brood rearing, you can have a much healthier hive. So here we have a picture of brood, and this is all called open brood, and the yellow arrow is pointing to the larva inside the comb. The bees are on top. Those would be nurse bees taking care. And it's very important that we have this comb available inside the hive and that we begin to understand what we're looking for at that larva. That is the brood. Next is our honey frame. And as you can see, the honey here is capped. It's vitally important that they have room to store their winter stores, whether you take them or not. But that's just one frame out of a huge hive. So we have a portion of the hive that should be ready for stores, a portion of the hive that's ready for brood, and that's called the brood nest. And inside the brood nest will be the pollen next to the brood, the pollen, the nectar, and then above that will be your honey stores. So, and then here we have a quote, which is, nothing is useless in nature, not even uselessness itself. So that's a Zen quote if I ever heard one. Things that we should ponder as to what's really useless. And in beekeeping, especially if you visit forums, you will find a lot of people that give you useless information. And is it useless? If you can learn from it, just make sure it's useful to you. So now is the time to start writing down your questions so that either I'll answer them throughout the class or you can ask them. And I have no problems answering questions as long as you understand that not every question can be answered unless I have, and even if I have, where your environment is. Each hive is so different depending on your locality. What did you put in it? How are you treating it? So even on forums, you should understand not everybody can answer your questions. You've got to kind of take people with a little bit of, if somebody is telling you how to treat hive beetle, but they're from an area that doesn't have any hive beetle, I would take that very lightly. It may be useless information. But if through your own observations, you can find out what's going on in your hive and pair up your knowledge and other people's knowledge with what you do, and you can formulate how your apiary will work, because your apiary isn't going to work like mine. And one of the other things I see a lot of people think of is like looking at commercial beekeepers, people who have 500, 1,000, 2,000 hives. I don't understand why anyone would want to work like a commercial apiary when you only have, say, 2. You can watch them, you can learn certain things by the way they walk through their apiary, how they treat their hives, but They are really dealing in livestock, whereas you have more of a pet. It's something to consider. The next thing we have up is a video, and this is just a cute little video of watching the comb, and it's a very full hive. You can see that each of those frames are covered in bees, and this is where your inspections of your comb or the brood nest should be done, not only to gauge your population but also its health. So you can peek in and see a great population, but unless you start to pull those frames of comb, you can't really gauge your whole hive's health. There's a lot going on in that hive, more than just the bees going in and out. So the combs are essentially the hive population, the growth, and the sustainability of your hive. Too much and too little space can affect your whole colony. I think you'll find this useful. I hope you stay with me. And some of the problems when we look and say, hey, why is my hive small? Or is my hive only honey? I don't think so. Either one. Your hive can be small. There's many reasons why. Think about them, learn about them. That's what we're going to do. We're going to cover a few different things as to how to examine your comb. So, here's the summary of this section. Comb is what? Reproduction of the hive. The comb is also food storage. Comb is where your winter cluster will gather, and your comb is part of the communication in your hive. Really 4 integral parts of your hive, and you should get to know them.